Welcome to Bloom Today. We have a very professional show for you. We're going to be talking about faith, not performance, brings life.
Hi, I'm Paula Wallace, president of Bloom in the Dark, and this is
Ginny Priz, the single-handed serenity coach. Welcome to Bloom Today, where we talk about internal and external brokenness and how you can heal,
so that you can use the fertilizer of your past to bloom today. Hey everybody, and today we are talking about how faith rather than performance is what brings life. And we've had a little bit of knowledge and training with performance, maybe. Like you went to school for it, right?
Yes, I went to school for theater. I was in performance from 3 years old. I was a dancer, so as much of a dancer as I could be at 3 years old with my little ballet. It's like point and back together and point and back together. But that was my first recital when I was 3. So there's been a lot of performance aspects to my life that started young, and then I just kind of, took it on with, all the world's a stage. Yay! I took Shakespeare a little bit too literally, I think, because I definitely started taking on that idea that I had to be performing for everyone all the time. And I was an only child, and this is something that I think happens to only children or firstborn. We try and achieve and perform and do, and I think that's kind of normal-ish.
Normal-ish.
Yeah, but when you take it too far, then that normal-ish goes out the window, and then you're stuck. What about you, performing?
Well, see, I didn't do performance arts type of performance. I did the let's put on a facade kind of performance, which actually takes impressive acting skills because you're acting all the time.
You have to
when you're
live that out, yeah.
When you're living that out, and that was my protective mechanism for the fact that I felt too hurt and broken inside from before I was 3. So it was put on the perfect show because it will keep you safe, it will keep you out of trouble, people won't know how badly you hurt, whatever it is. And yeah, I think dancing sounds like a whole lot of fun.
It was. It still is. I'm still that kind of movement-focused person, so I love it a lot. But
I'm trying to learn to dance.
Fantastic.
Because I grew up not being allowed to dance in a lot of the normal dance scenarios. So I'm like, oh, my body can move. I can enjoy this. This is a whole brand new world.
Breaking out of that shell of performance that had you stuck
locked down
on lockdown, which is very, very different from mine. But when I started doing all of the performance aspect of life, and then I had no idea how people should really interact, because I really liked the escape of theater and performance, and I can be this other character, or I can portray this through something else, and I can escape from my own life for a while and do that. And then when you only have your own life, after college, I didn't really do a lot of theater after that. And that was because everyone around me was so dramatic all the time. In theater, I couldn't handle it anymore. So I have to get out. I need to find out what it's like to just be me for a while, and just kind of relax instead of all of these emotions flying everywhere. But I didn't know how to relax, so that's when the drinking came in. That's not such a good idea.
So where did performance get you?
I think it got me in jail with DUI.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, not really the award ceremony I was looking for.
not the right red carpet.
That's not the right. No, that's definitely not. Those flashing lights were not the lights I had in mind growing up. I can laugh about it now because I've got a whole lot of healing that's come
in a few years
out of that, and I don't do a lot of performing, and now I can sit here with you, have this conversation in front of cameras, and feel like this is the same conversation I would have sitting at our own kitchen tables.
Yeah, we
are in the kitchen though. So.
It really helps to just be in the kitchen, because then you can go back to being at home in the normal safe setting.
Yeah.
That we'd be at home, and our viewers are possibly in their kitchens or
Absolutely.
Relaxing too. So that works for me. But I was thinking where my acting and facade and performance ended up, well, it all kind of fell apart. And then between the emotional breakdown and the anxiety and panic attacks and the suicidal ideation, the whole craziness that was going on the inside that eventually broke through the facade, everything came crumbling down, and then I was like, what's wrong with her? Because then it became very obvious.
There was something wrong.
Performance was not fixing any of this anymore, and I couldn't hide it. And
well, there's so much where in that moment we're trying to, or during that season where we're performing and performing and performing, we're trying to generate our own energy, our own love, our own whatever it is that we're trying to give and to offer people, or what we're trying to put on. We're trying to generate it ourselves, and it becomes exhausting.
Very, which is why understanding that we can all trust God when we understand some just core basic truths that have to do with switching to the faith side rather than the performance side of how we see life, how we see ourselves. And
because the performance is going to keep us trying to generate what we don't have.
Right, and pretending, it just does not,
it doesn't
heal anything, and it doesn't make it real either, evidently. But it's kind of like if you don't receive love, how do you give it? Where does it come from?
Right, we love because he first loved us.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, there was a song, Love is like a penny. And it's the more you get, the more you can give.
You give it away.
Yes,
give it away.
right.
Give it away.
Go into the song.
Yes.
But it's realizing that if you're not getting filled with God's love, you don't have love to give. And when all you have is a shell of performance, and it's not based in that love that God provides, that God fills us with, you don't have anything. And 1 John 4:8 says, whoever does not love God does not know God, because God is love, and he's the one that gives us that love, that gives us the opportunity to genuinely share that.
And I love the idea of, you have that video, Broken Vessel of Honor.
Yes.
And just the idea that we need to be poured into by God, and we need to receive from him before we could ever pour out. It's supposed to be the overflow of God's love that we're giving out. It's not something that we're supposed to be generating on our own. We were never built that way. That's not the way we were designed. We were designed to be these vessels to receive and then pour out.
Which is such a different concept than what you hear most places, where it's just kind of like make it up and give it, or do, or somehow or another self-generate, manufacture it on your own.
And the only way you're going to get God's love is if you do this right thing.
Yeah, just perform.
Right, that's the lie that we're told to do, is keep performing and then you'll get the love, when in reality it's the exact opposite. We need to be able to receive before we can pour out.
Well, and then how do you know where to pour out or what to do if you are not listening to God and actually obeying what He's told you to do? Because if you don't have...
You mean I'm not supposed to be all things to all people all the time?
I don't know how you could do that. I'm really clear I can't do that.
I tried really hard for a lot of years. It didn't work out at all.
There might be people-pleasing codependence or something else mixed
like
in.
That. Just a little. But yeah, what I've learned now is that God does have a very focused mission for me, and it does align with my passions, and working together with him, it does actually even create more energy for me. It does, doing this is something that fills me up.
Right.
And it's not something that completely drains me. I do feel like we're walking together in this mission together, which is amazing. But to get to this place, I had to do a whole lot of listening. A whole lot of listening.
To know where God wanted you and what He wanted you doing.
Yes.
Right? Even to start with.
He prepared us. He got us ready, and I had to take steps, baby steps, one after the other, but I had to be listening to hear what that next step was.
Well, and that's where Luke 11:28 says, blessed are rather they who hear the word of God and obey it. It brings blessings. And when I get asked, well, how did you make that happen? How did you get a television show? I'm like, I didn't. God evidently had a television show planned, and He just asked me, was I willing to take the risks and face my own fears and all the issues that it took for me to obey, but I didn't make anything happen.
Right.
I just stepped into it.
Manufacture
Yeah, it wasn't a performance thing. It was okay, here am I, Lord, send me. If you want this done, then okay, I'm really, really scared, but okay, I'll do this, right?
Absolutely. This is not something that everyone wakes up every day and says, I want to tell all of my secrets to the world. Yay! No, that doesn't happen.
Not spreading dirty laundry everywhere.
No.
Like we have a tendency to do in this nice little kitchen we have.
But we do tend to be obedient and because we understand that is what brings blessing, and that is God just leading us in the right direction because our blessing to be a part of what he's doing in the lives of broken men and women. And that is more meaningful and more powerful to me than anything else. And that's the biggest blessing that I've been given out of all of it, is just to be a part of it.
Well, and that's bearing fruit. That's where we get to actually see what God does, and he's going to work through whoever's willing, but we get to participate in that, and we get to see the fruit that comes from God. That's our third truth is you can't self-manufacture good fruit.
Yes.
There is no, I don't have the power to do that. And you're always talking to me about that verse. About
John 15, for abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye except ye abide in me. That is the King James Version.
Thank you for that. That makes me feel special that you said it in my language, my Bible language.
Just this idea, and I love this because it goes in line with our idea of blooming, and it's the idea that yes, God built nature, and there's again reasons, and he's on this path with us, and he wants us to be aware of how things work, and he set things up for us in nature so that we would understand. And if we're grafted into this vine, then again, he's the one who's building the fruit through us. We're just there to be vessels to pass the all of these nutrients from the ground to create the fruit. It's not us doing it. We're just there, available,
conduits,
willing, obedient, listening, saying, okay, God, I'm here to receive your love and be obedient and watch what you can do out of this.
Right, and it takes blooming to get fruit.
Yes.
Fruit doesn't
you
come
have to have
without the blooms. And I'm like, yay! The bloom.
All of that works together.
Let's keep our blooming in here somewhere.
Amen. So if you want to learn more about this topic and this lesson that we've just gone over, you can access our coaching tool online at bloomtodaytv.com. If you download that, it's just a couple pages of worksheets that will ask you some questions, help you to apply it to your life with exercises to help you take the next step forward.
That's exciting, and we have a really cool guest here today.
We do, and I'm excited to bring her on. Author. We have so many authors, and so
Isn't that great?
I love authors anyway. Sorry.
You are
but
one.
She loves authors even more than we do. Author, speaker, and she's the founder of Authors in Business Nation. So she helps authors as well, and that's just a community and I'm just going to let her.
Where was she when we were writing?
I know, right?
Like
Desiree Lee, would you come join us in the kitchen, please?
Yeah. Can you give her a hand, Ginny?
Oh, I absolutely will. Thank you so much. Here's your hands.
So much.
You're very welcome. Come please, sit at the table. Welcome to the kitchen.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You guys are kind.
So I love what you do with authors. You tell us what you do. You create this community, these resources for them so that they can succeed.
Oh, wow. So I am the founder of Authors in Business, and we call ourselves AIB Nation. And the reason why I created this is because I remember when I was writing my book and there wasn't that many resources around. It was not people were too friendly and helping me along the way. So now it's the opportunity for us to help one another and move forward together and try to inspire as many people as possible.
That's
amazing.
So cool. I'm like, yeah, where were you?
It's even cooler because I know your backstory a little bit. So, and I know that you didn't start there. You didn't just wake up one day and said, oh, I've got everything together, so I'm going to do this.
I didn't.
I'm going to create this community. So tell us a little bit about you said, I know that you started off in growing up, and it seemed like you were very successful in school, but then what happened after that?
Well, it's amazing that the thing that I was most shameful of is the very thing that's catapulting me towards my success. Like you were mentioning earlier, Paula, about faith and performance, moving forward. Is it a facade? We think that we have to have this itemized list that God wants us to do
Right.
in order to obtain this blessing or do it the right way.
Yeah.
And I quickly found out that wasn't it. So during high school, being raised by both of my parents, I had a 3.8 GPA, 2 basketball scholarships, on my way to college in the pursuit of the American dream.
Yeah.
I had some really strict parents, but they made it their best job to try to put me on the right path. And I just felt empty. I felt really empty, and I just had this idea of I needed more money in order to pay for the remainder of my college after the scholarships were gone and everything else. And 2 weeks after I graduated from high school, I was incarcerated for 11 counts of armed robbery and 5 counts of aggravated assault.
Wow.
So that wasn't the basketball scholarship route to
No,
success.
Yeah.
it wasn't. And, facing 135 years in prison.
That was, that was the
not-
maximum of what you could have been given was, wow.
Just for being the driver of the car accessory.
Wow.
And everything that I worked hard on this itemized list just went away just like that. And I spent 4 years in prison, and it was a real humbling experience. It was very scary too as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
People in there with life sentences and have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But this time around, I got a chance to experience God for myself and not on my mom's prayers or what I saw in church. I couldn't depend on mommy and daddy. Like literally in there, I was depending on God every single day. So I kind of relate my story to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because when people initially see me, they're like, oh no, not you, right? And so it's just a real comforting feeling that even in the midst of that shame, or even in the midst of the most darkest place, that God never leaves you nor forsakes you. He still keeps you.
He's in the fire with you.
Do you see that?
Absolutely.
At first I didn't. At first I'm like, okay, where are you? I need you right now.
Yes.
But of course, I definitely saw that once my experience. And so, coming out from that, I thought, oh, me to get my life back together, second chance, what I saw on TV, thinking that, hey, look, that's behind me now. And I found out that that wasn't my experience. It was even more tougher.
Oh, yeah, afterwards.
Yeah.
When you were released from prison 4 years later, people were not so welcoming of hiring and investing in someone who had your past.
Right. And it's not just that, not just a, place of employment, but it's also apartments. They do background checks. Also college, also cosmetology. There's so many jobs that we really don't notice that require a license.
Right.
And a state license, and they do background checks. So I always tell people, like, have you ever been just tired of being tired? Like, you feel like every day is a fight.
Yes.
And you're like, every time I go to someone, it's rejection. Nobody likes being rejected.
Right.
No.
But for 6 years, Paula, it was like the most daunting experience that I had once I was released. And I felt like giving up.
But God didn't give up on you.
No, he didn't. And he answers as soon as you call him.
So what
really
happened
does.
in your story that turned everything?
It was weird. It was unexpected, but I was just tired and I just gave up. I said, Lord, I'm done. You know how we tell people don't give up too soon, keep going.
Right.
No, I can't tell nobody that because I did it. And so I place a lot of value in meeting strangers because of what Justacia did for me at this day at the nail salon. I had suicidal plans. And my mom came downstairs and asked me if I wanted to get my feet done. and, get a pedicure. And so I said, yeah, sure, why not? This will be the last experience we'll have with each other. And I felt really, really ugly inside. I was just done. It was like there was nothing else. I don't see anything else. And the stranger, she just looked at me just like you guys are looking at me and saying, hi, you're beautiful. Let's go have some coffee tomorrow. So what she didn't know was that ruined my suicidal plans that evening.
Yeah, you couldn't have coffee if you were...
Right. And I
you had to hang around for the coffee.
Somebody to talk to, really, to understand. And I had a pity party.
Yeah.
Woe was me, my family this, maybe if my mom did this, maybe if my dad did this, maybe if so-and-so did this, instead of accepting responsibility, right then and there.
Right.
And she was just smiling like, And she took a sip. She took a sip of her coffee. Oh, okay. And I'm crying my eyes out. You guys should have saw me. I swear, I have it all in my head. I'm crying my eyes out. And she's just like, oh, okay. And then she goes in her purse and pulls out a small little jar of mustard seeds. And so she tells me, hold out my hand. And she pours the mustard seeds in my hand, asks me, do I know what these are? Of course I do. I've been raised in church all my life. Faith is a mustard seed, move mountains. God is not listening to my prayer. I didn't come here for you to preach to me. I need a job. Did you not just hear what I just told you I went through, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, she says, I said, being mad and upset because she didn't respond the way I wanted her to respond.
Right.
And
the commiseration.
Yeah. And so
She was supposed to join your pity party. What was wrong with her?
I don't understand. And I'm like, this is all the faith I got left. And she said, that's all the faith you need. And she said, you have to open up your mouth and speak to your mountains. Sometimes your problems stack up so high, they become your mountains. And she says, what you've been doing is you've just been internalizing it and not speaking at it, not using the power that God has given you. He said, if you ask, you shall receive. You can tell this mountain to move from here and there. And that's when I had affirmations. And I said, you know what? If I messed up my life, I'm going to write my story, take the thing that I'm shameful of, so no other teen has to experience what I've experienced. The reason why people go through what they go through is not for themselves. It's 3 reasons: to prevent someone from experiencing that same exact pain. So I can tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that.
Right.
Or encourage
Learn from
somebody.
my example. Yes.
Or encourage somebody who's in it. And then show people that nothing is impossible. And now I have government contracts. Now I tour the United States with my authors and just give that same love, like you were saying, that it has to be poured. You have to receive it in order to give it out.
Right.
And just give that same love, that same kindness, that same belief that I believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself, to all the authors that I serve.
That's amazing. And what is the name of your book?
Oh, it's Inmate 1142980, the Desiree Lee story.
So that's your number from when you were in jail.
Yeah, and it's following me for the rest of my life. But
so you might as well put it out there and put it on the cover of a book. I mean, seriously.
Right.
No one can blackmail with you that anymore.
I might as well.
Public information. Well, I'll tell people you were in jail. Wait a second. Sorry. It's on the cover of a book.
From beginning to the end. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Enemy doesn't have any more power there.
No, and it's powerful now, because now I'm not speaking from a place of pain, but a place of power. And I think, it's not woe is me. It's saying, this was my experience. This is what I did to try to just make it through it. Yeah. But this is what I'm doing with that.
Right. Which is huge, because in our discussions about the low places we go to, that's so different for each of us. And for you, where jail was a place you were able to trust God, you were struggling way more with the consequences of jail in trusting God.
Right.
But God met you right there. It doesn't matter where we are in that broken place. He'll meet us right there, wherever that is. And the fact that you would never have gotten where you are now if you had followed through on the suicide instead of going to coffee.
Right.
Like, there's always hope for that next.
Right. And you got to complete your assignment. But when I hear about stuff like this, like you're saying, hey, wow, you went through this. And I look and I said, I would have killed how many dreams, how many unfulfilled assignments, God-given assignments, I would have took with me. I would have killed with me. And so when I look at that young person that says, Miss Lee, I changed my life. I did what you
Right.
said. Or I look in that person who's went through a traumatic experience about their story and their family has given up on them. And I said, you know what? You make what I went through worth it. It was worth sleeping those nights in there being by myself. It was worth being scared. It was worth facing rejection for 6 years. It was worth getting those no's. It was worth it because you got to just keep going, not for yourself. It's easier to give up on me,
Right.
but it's harder if I'm fighting for you to give up on you and saying, we got to make it through.
Yeah.
And you understand where broken, hurting people you interact with, you understand where they've been.
Right.
You're not going, in theory, oh, honey, God will fix that, with no understanding. I hear that from people that are like, never been through much of anything.
Right.
And they're going, oh, yes, God takes care of everything. You're like, well, that's true. He does take care of everything. But it's so much more helpful to hear it from somebody who's actually been in that super dark place and has come out.
Right.
Right.
And is sharing it that way.
And in a lot of ways, what God is able to do is take those dark times and make them the most powerful part of our story. And when we're going through them, I mean, you can attest, it is awful. It feels like there is literally no hope sometimes.
Yeah, it really does. But even the darkest hour only has 60 minutes. So it's
Wow.
like, you just gotta keep going and pushing,
Yeah.
It's worth it.
I laughed because trying to come up with a way to say that, I was like, whatever doesn't kill you makes your testimony stronger.
There you go.
Absolutely.
It's just sometimes that's all you got for it. Is like, okay, God, well, here we got more testimony to use. Who do you want me to tell it to? In your case, writing the book, helping other people tell their stories, write their books, do the things that take their broken areas and put it into something that helps others.
Right, you can write your way out. You can
Wow.
you can write your way out of any situation. You can reach more people. I'm thinking maybe, do I have to be a minister? Just like your TV show on how to reach more people of what God has divinely assigned you to do specifically. And it's like you can reach those people with your book all around the world.
Yes. And you don't even need to be awake.
No. They can be reading it while you're asleep.
You're so funny, Ginny.
I love it. You get to help people while you're relaxing having
why
coffee.
not?
Right now,
Right,
someone is reading your book. Someone is reading Paula's book. And
Somebody's reading Ginny's book.
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
just never know. Desiree, thank you so
Oh,
much for
thank you
being
so
here.
much for having
You
me.
are our ex-victim of the week, so we have something for you.
You get a Bloom Today and Bloom in the Dark mug
I love it.
with a tattoo. We're giving you the fake
The ex-victim tattoo.
ex-victim tattoos. So
Oh,
I have it as my stamp of having been there and not being there anymore and blooming. But chocolates and tissues are part of our theme of saying it may be emotional and it may hurt and you may cry, but at the end of it, there's so much to celebrate and so much for God to use in our lives and sharing our stories. So
It is.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much again.
we're excited.
We're just so thankful that you're here and thankful that for
We can-
everything God has done in
And
your
we
life
can use the fertilizer of our past
to bloom today.
today.
To bloom today.
A free PDF copy of the Bloom in the Dark book and a full list of Bloom Today's coaching tools can be found on bloomtodaytv.com. Then visit Bloom Today's Facebook group for deeper conversation.